All right, so let's finish by talking about some quantum numbers and a couple other periodic trends with electron configurations. So consider the following sets of quantum numbers. Remember, there are some rules for quantum numbers that tell us about how many electrons can be in a given orbital and how many electrons can share the same four quantum numbers. And n, of course, is an integer. It tells you about the principal quantum number, the energy of the electron in a given orbital. And it just has to start at 1 and go up as integer values. And then L can be anywhere from 0 up to n minus 1, integers only. M sub L can go from negative L all the way to positive L. And it can be 0 as well. And then M sub S, the magnetic spin, is either going to be plus 1/2 or minus 1/2. It helps to differentiate spin up, spin down for two electrons that have the same N, L, and ML values. They'll have different or opposite magnetic spins.